Are you starting to feel like your friendships aren't the same anymore? Like you're drifting apart and you're just not as enmeshed as you used to be? Well, it's a lot more common than you think. And a lot of it has to do with your mindset. Are you the kind of person that has growth mindset innately built into them? Are you working to better yourself and fulfill your dreams and live in abundance? Well, it might be that your friends just aren't keeping up. And I'm not saying this in a way that there's anything negative about them, but in order to grow, sometimes we have to change the circles in which we interact. We have to change the people who we're interacting with. And it doesn't mean you're failing, it means you're growing. So, what do I mean by outgrowing a friendship? That can happen when your beliefs, your career direction, your family, when all of that changes. And that can be positive for both sides. It's not necessarily a negative to outgrow and to move forward. One common example of this, and one that I think a lot of us can relate to, is when you have children. Especially if you have kids young, you can see this transitioning more, or if you didn't have kids at all. This is another way in which you can see it. But for me, when I got pregnant with my son, I was on the younger side, and most of my friends were still going out and partying and having a good time and being young and living up their 20s and really enjoying it. And I was home taking care of my newborn baby. My priorities had drastically shifted. I was no longer interested in going out clubbing or going to see shows or doing all of those things I had once enjoyed because I was taking care of my baby who needed me. And my friends changed at that point too. I started to become friends with more moms, more people in that same type of situation as me. And I think that the phase of life you're in is actually more important to who you make friends with than your chronological age. For example, my husband is 10 years older than me, but when we met, our kids were within a year of each other. My son and his oldest daughter are 10 months apart, and my second daughter and his second daughter are 7 months apart. So we were in this very similar phase of life, even though he had been on this planet 10 years longer than I had. So how do you know if you're actually outgrowing a friendship? What are some of those signs that you can see that you're in a different stage than they are and things are starting to drift apart? Well, the first one is you're just not enjoying your time spent with them as much, or you're not spending as much time together at all. The time together feels draining rather than fulfilling. They're not lifting you up, they're dragging you down. Maybe they're not encouraging of what's going on with you. Maybe they're not excited for you. Maybe then they're not in that abundance growth mindset where they feel like your success is a good thing. Maybe they're threatened by it. Maybe they don't approve of it. Maybe something that you are doing they don't like and it just doesn't jive anymore. Maybe something they're doing you don't like. And it is okay to move past those friendships. And I just want to be very clear about that. Friends are very important. Having community, having people in your life is important. But you should never keep people in your life just because they once occupied an important place there. Another way in which you can see this is that conversations start becoming more one-sided. You don't really feel like you have as much to contribute to the conversation, or vice versa. You start to feel guilty for changing and growing because they're not there. You have to stifle yourself. And this has happened to me many times where I've had friends who were not growing along with me and who were complaining about the same things over and over and kind of stuck in this rut of not being able to move forward. And I felt like I had to hold back my positive news. I had to hold back the things that were good in my life because I didn't want to make them feel bad. And that is when I knew that that relationship wasn't going anywhere and it was time to let go and move forward. It really is okay to shift who you have in your life. Growth doesn't mean that one of you is better or worse than the other. It just means that you're in different places. And you don't have to feel guilty about that. And letting go of that friendship, not having as much connection with that person, doesn't mean that they're out of your life forever. Maybe that person is still there in some ways, and maybe they're not. Maybe they really are out of your life. And it doesn't erase the good times that you had together. It doesn't erase those good memories. I know that I have quite a few friends that I had at some point in my life that really fit me at that point in my life, but we don't fit each other anymore. And the fact that we don't see each other and we don't hang out and we don't have active roles in one another's lives anymore doesn't mean that they weren't important. It doesn't mean that I don't still have love for them or care about them or hope that they're doing well with their lives, because I do. For the vast majority of people who have been in my life, I want the best for them. These friendship shifts are just a part of life. Think about it. When people used to move away across the country hundreds of years ago, they would probably never see those people again. And it didn't mean that they didn't love the people they left behind or wish the best for them. It just meant that that shift was happening, and it is a natural shift. And clinging to those old relationships and trying to force them will hold both of you back. It's not healthy and it's not good. So I'll give you an example. I had a really close friend in high school who was amazing for me when we were in high school. She was so positive. She was all about helping me lift myself up and get away from an abusive relationship that I was in. She was instrumental in that, and she was very helpful to me and just very supportive. But as time wore on, she continued to make more and more decisions that were holding her back. And when she started that, I was making those bad decisions with her. But when I hit about 19 years old, I decided I wanted to go to college and I wanted to clean up my life and I wanted to do better and be better for myself. And I kept trying to keep her in my life because I loved her, because she was such a good person. But the decisions that she was making just were so contrary to the decisions that I was making that it made it really hard for us to stay in each other's lives. And though I still love her and I have so much love for her and I have so much positivity and I hope that she's in a good place, we don't see each other anymore. We don't talk anymore. She's not an active member of my circle, and there is nothing, and that is nothing against her. We just grew in different directions. The problem is that moving on from friendships can be heartbreaking. It can be really difficult to understand that and embrace it and choose to move on. That can be a really, really difficult thing for anyone. So I encourage you to invest in yourself during those times. Spend a lot of time in self-reflection. Don't go back to an unfulfilling friendship just because you feel like you need that person in your life to fill your friend bucket. You will find your people, I promise. So spend this time in self-reflection, in your hobbies, in your interests, in developing that growth mindset, and continue to stay in it. Maintain gratitude for the friendship that you did have and for the lessons that you learned along the way. And be honest. If you feel like in order to gain closure, you need to talk to them, I really recommend doing that. If you need to, have a kind and open and honest conversation with that person about where you're at and where you're going and where you see all of this headed. And don't burn bridges with people unless the relationship is toxic. Obviously, if it's toxic, that's an issue for a whole different video. And the relationships I'm talking about are not toxic. You're just outgrowing them. So don't burn bridges with these people. You never know where you're going to end up or where they will end up. And maybe the friendship will be able to find new life in a different way. And then spend time with people who are interested in helping you further your goals. Spend time with people who have growth mindset, who are excited about the future, who want to help you move forward, people who want to celebrate your success and not push it down. Those are the people you should be surrounding yourself with. I think there's a saying where you are the sum total of the 5 people closest to you. Basically, your personality is made up by your network. You are made up of the people who you keep closest. So if the people closest to you have growth mindset and are excited and abundant, then you will be excited and abundant and have growth mindset. But if the 5 people closest to you are pulling you down, you will be dragged down. It is nearly impossible to rise above it and be a very positive person when you have negativity surrounding you every single day. And I just want to say that it is normal to feel sad, to feel hurt, to feel like you're losing someone very important to you when a friendship changes like this. And chances are you are losing someone important to you, someone who has held an important place in your heart. I know for me, losing friends, some of the friends that I have lost, it has hurt harder and worse and deeper than any romantic relationship that I have lost, any breakup that I have gone through. So give yourself time to heal from that. It is normal to feel sadness and to feel hurt and to feel loss, because it is a loss. You are in mourning. And remember, you're not leaving them behind. You're just being true to yourself. The guilt over leaving, the guilt over growing more, comes out of this obligation that we feel that we have to hold ourselves back to help other people, or we have to give of ourselves and not take for ourselves. But I want you to ask this question. Think about this friend that you love so much. Would you ever want them to hold themselves back for your sake, for your benefit? Hopefully the answer is no. And if that's the case, then you know what your answer is about this friend who's holding you back. And I want to say this because I think it needs to be said. Outgrowing your friends is a sign that you are growing. And it is a positive thing. It is a beautiful thing. So focus on that. Take some time to reflect and think about these friendships and what you want to call in the future. And also, shedding what is holding you back leaves you open to take on more of what will help you in the future. Because sometimes letting go gives us space to make more meaningful connections. If this resonates with you, then know that you are not alone. You are amongst your people here. Go ahead and comment below if you've ever experienced a friend breakup. Have you ever outgrown a friend because you were growing and they weren't? How did that feel? And if somebody else posts down there that they're going through it right now, be supportive of one another. Let's grow together. Please subscribe and like if you liked this video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.